Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We've got a great crowd. It's great to have all of you here. We certainly appreciate it. Today is Tuesday, May 6th. We'll start our meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Erpenbach.
Here.
Jamison.
Here.
Karski.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Entenmann.
Here. Thank you. In the City of Sioux Falls, we start our meetings with an invocation. And we're very pleased to have City Council member Michelle Erpenbach will lead us with that invocation tonight. Thank you, Councilor. We appreciate that. What we'd ask you to do is to stand and remain standing after the Councilor is done for our Pledge of Allegiance. Councilor.
Thank you. Will you bow your head as I pray? Dear wise and loving Creator, first let me say thank you. On behalf of all who are gathered here today, thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thanks as well for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us even so, from your boundless and gracious nature. In Scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for my colleagues and me on this assembled council. I'm asking that you would graciously grant all of us wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in our lives and joy in our task. I pray for the agenda set before us today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Sioux Falls. It is in your most blessed name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sincerely, thanks for being here tonight. What a great crowd. Certainly appreciate it. I do have two proclamations I'd like to read. The first one is in honor of our city clerks. And this is Tamara Jorgensen. She's the assistant city clerk for the city of Sioux Falls. And again, Tamara, thanks for representing the team. The proclamation reads, whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, the agencies of government at all levels. Whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas municipal clerks continuously strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, province, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim May 4th through May 10th as Municipal Clerks Week in Sioux Falls and extend appreciation to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Let's give them a round of applause. Is Linda here with the...
Actually, we have John.
Oh, great. John. Hey, welcome. John, good to see you. Thank you, John. My next proclamation reads as follows. Whereas every 5 minutes, a woman in the United States is told she has lung cancer. Whereas, having surpassed breast cancer in 1987, lung cancer is the leading cause of death among women with cancer in the United States. Whereas, the death rate of women battling lung cancer has more than doubled over the last 35 years. Whereas, women are disproportionately burdened with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, otherwise known as COPD, when compared to men in terms of illness and health. Whereas, asthma is more common in women than men. Whereas, advocacy and increased awareness will result in more frequent screenings, early detection, and better treatment for women with lung cancer, COPD, asthma, and other lung diseases to ultimately save lives. Whereas, Lung Force is the new national movement led by the American Lung Association with the mission of making lung cancer and lung disease a thing of the past, while uniting women to stand together with a collective strength and determination to lead the fight against lung cancer and for lung health. Now, therefore, I, Mike Cuther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim May 11th through the 17th, 2014 as Women's Lung Health Week in Sioux Falls, and encourage all residents to be proactive in learning and sharing more about the detection and treatment of lung cancer and all lung diseases. Thank you. Thank you all. We'll now move on to our consent agenda. Council, any motions or changes to the agenda?
Move to approve, Anderson.
Councilor Karski has made a motion to approve this, and it was seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. Is there any other comments? Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I'd like to pull a number of items off the consent calendar. The first one would be dealing with the Water Department and Lewis and Clark Regional Water System, $40,000. And then the Street Department, an amendment to an agreement for engineering services, $2,135,212. And then once again, the Street Department sump pump collection system, $82,500. Then the zoo master plan HVAC replacement, $198,500. Parks and Recreation, family park improvements, restroom and main utilities, $535,766. And then the last one is a risk management insurance liability reimbursement for settlement payment to South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, $69,500.
Councilor Staggers has made a request to move 6 items, and we'll discuss those later. Any other motions, Council? Anybody want to make a motion to approve the remaining items?
So moved, Rolfing.
Oh, we did. No, you're right. We did do that.
Yeah.
So we will pull these items. And so let's vote on the other items right now. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar? Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. We'll now move on to our regular agenda. Council, any changes to that?
Move to approve, Anderson. Second, Jamison.
Councilor Enneman's made a motion to approve our regular agenda tonight, seconded by Councilor Jamison. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Welcome. It's good to have you all here tonight. This is an opportunity for you. If you want, you can actually engage the council on any topic that you deem of interest. All we'd ask you to do is just state your name for the people of our town, and if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, we'd appreciate that. Please come forward. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Mark Lee. I represent the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce. You all deal with a lot of difficult issues, and there's always times where there's conflict, and we're all working together to make our city better. We all know that. I just wanted to let you know that yesterday at about 1 o'clock, 26 people from the city of Billings showed up in our town on a chamber-to-chamber arranged visit. These are business leaders, members of their chamber, interested community members, some governmental leaders as well, and their entire purpose for coming to Sioux Falls was they have chosen Sioux Falls as a city that they would like to aspire to be like. Now that, I think, is great news for our community, not because it showed up in some national magazine or not because it's some sort of ranking, but a community has done their due diligence and came to Sioux Falls to learn from our community. I thank the mayor for being with us last night and being with the group. A number of city employees, Mark Cotter, Darren Smith, Mike Cooper, Don Kearney, I'm sure I'm missing somebody, entertained the group today, led them on tours. Jeff Schmidt led them on tours, gave them the information they wanted. Those people that have led this community before you and those people that will lead this community today and into the future should take a note of pride from this, that another community has identified us as an aspirational city. So job well done, and I just wanted to pass on a little bit of good news, Mayor.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Would anybody else like to engage the council? Well, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. We'll now move on to the unfinished items. Councilor Staggers.
Yeah, I think there's one person that wants to speak.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any others.
Does somebody, this is Bruce Danielson, Citizens for Integrity. I was going to do some overhead, but apparently I have, let me just give you these. Thanks. So I've had trouble trying to get what I'm trying to do on CityLink. It doesn't seem to work all the time, but I just wanted to give a little recap of a couple weeks ago. We had an ethics meeting here in town, and we learned a lot of things and some lessons on city government that doesn't seem to make much difference anymore, what we're trying to do. We're a group of people that are just trying to get some things out in the open, trying to talk about what's going on in town. We're trying to teach people about the charter, about ethics. And what we're learning is that in Sioux Falls we have a lot of marketing, and we're learning about loopholes. And this has become a government of loopholes. We always find some way, somewhere, that when we're trying to bring up any kind of issue, be it during the election just passed, we end up finding out that we missed something, or there's some little loophole somewhere in the system that's just not working. And then last week we had the Ask the Mayor session on CityLink, and we find out that we're pretty much considered smoke when we're trying to bring things up. And it takes a lot for people like me to come up here and talk in front of this group, because we really do respect what's going on here, and we respect what's happening. And when we bring up an issue, we find a problem, and we bring up our ethics hearing, we find out that the person that we're asking to come before us and answer some questions doesn't find that it's worth his time to show up, and we get the city attorney, instead of doing his job that he is mandated to do in the charter, he gets to be the defense attorney for the mayor. And that was very disheartening, because we were really working hard to try and find out what's going on. So we ended up with starting to ask the question, what is the job of the city attorney? In reading the charter and trying to understand what's going on with the city attorney's office, we worked really hard in trying to get people to vote for the amendment that passed this year for the charter, because we think that you as a legislative body need to be able to be on par with the administration and work with the city attorney to protect the charter. And The primary job of the city attorney is to protect the charter, be it from a mistake made here or in a city office or anywhere. And we find out that when he has a chosen responsibility as part of his job, he recuses himself and proceeds to be the personal attorney for the mayor, and nobody takes his place. And then the ethics board is left there trying to figure out how to handle some situations. And that just didn't seem right. So we had two issues that we were actually trying to deal with. One being the first issue was I had been before the ethics board back just prior to the election. It was kind of a rush, get this ethics issue out of the way concerning the State of the City address. And the chairman of the ethics board ends up being a former contractor for me that we had to dismiss because of a problem. And he could have been a contractor or an employee that was actually somebody that was really good for us. And we would have highly recommended him for another job or anything else. It doesn't matter. The chairman of the ethics board was somebody that had a business relationship with me, be it positive or negative. And the idea behind an ethics board is we don't have conflicts of interest of any kind. And we're trying to deal with conflicts of interest through this whole process. And we were really disturbed by just the way the whole thing worked. We know that this is a strong city management system by a strong mayor form of government. But you people are all legislators. And we appreciate the fact that you're here. And Ms. Aguilar, Mr. Entman, thank you for the service that you've performed here over the last 4 years. Good luck in your futures. And I wanted to make sure that everybody here knows that we really do care what happens in this room. But it's a lot of work to try and deal with all these things that are going on. And to be able to go in and have you understand what conflicts of interest are and why should we care. Because we do care. Because there's a lot of things that are made, decisions in this room and in the other offices around this town that all affect what we're trying to get accomplished. But, you know, in the end, when we got really down to it here, what we've learned about this coming here and working with so many members of this board and what happened prior to the election is that so many here think that those of us that come up here and try and talk, all you people seem to think you feel about us is disdain. And we really want to be a strong part of this community, help guide what's going on. But right now, we think that whenever we come up here and talk, decisions are already made, and nobody wants to do anything that we've asked or even wants to ask a question. I just want to finish up with one thing.
Mr. Dennison, you're at 6:34.
All right. I just want to finish with one thing. I will be coming back because I have some other things to talk about on another occasion, and I thank you very much.
Have a good day. Thank you very much, Mr. Dennison. Is there anybody else who wants to speak to the council? Are you sure? Great. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to our next agenda item, please. Councilor Staggers, you had 6 items you wanted to address. First one is water. Mr. Cotter, it is Lewis and Clark Regional Water System, the agreement to, or an amendment to the agreement for services. Mark?
Yeah, Mark, we're talking about $40,000 here. However, in the past, of course, we have contributed a lot of money to the Lewis and Clark. And sometimes people get the impression that we've, already paid all of our money to Lewis and Clark. But here we have Lewis and Clark again and another $40,000. Can you say something about that?
Certainly. These, Counselor, these dollars are not going to Lewis and Clark. They are to bring in AE2S. AE2S is a regional consulting firm that's been with our advisement team, our engineering team, our study team on Lewis and Clark really for the last 10 years. And as we work through some contract disputes with Lewis and Clark, I need to have them back on our advisory team so we can tap them and ultimately reach resolution. So I asked them to provide us the ability to utilize $40,000. We may not spend that. It'll be based on professional services as we need them, but I could see their work taking place over the course of the next 12 months.
Lewis and Clark, when are we going to be done spending money on that? I mean, I know it's hard for you to say, but we should have some kind of idea that, kind of enough is enough. We spent so much money already.
Oh, well, Lewis and Clark has been a lifeline to the city of Sioux Falls. We take water every day, and being connected to the Missouri River, I would expect that, we've been a member of Lewis and Clark since the 1990s. Ultimately, we buy a certain queue of water every day, and likely there will be, for our initial allotment, we've spent those dollars, that's the $72 million. But the arrangement is, when it's needed, we still need to pay for our final wells. And so we do still have ongoing operational and capital costs that will come before the city of Sioux Falls, but it has really been our long-term water supply, and there will be costs going forward for Lewis and Clark.
Once again, yeah, I understand that there's going to be more costs because we're buying water and we're going to be increasing the amount of water we're going to buy in the future. But these other issues that, that we're having with Lewis and Clark, that's a concern I have. Unexpected expenses like this is hopefully is going to be resolved shortly.
I would hope we can bring resolution in the next 12 months.
Okay.
Okay.
And then also the second, I don't know if anybody
Did we want
else.
to vote on those individually?
I believe we should vote on
Okay,
these
very good.
individuals.
Councilor Herman?
I move that we approve this expense.
Second, Erpenbach.
It's been a motion to approve this item. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Next is Maple Street to Career Avenue to Marion Road. It's a coordination, and it involves an amendment to the agreement for engineering services. Chad?
Yeah, Chad, could you say something about the $2 million plus dollars for engineering services?
First of all, I believe that the information that you received was not completely accurate. This is not to amend a engineering services agreement. This is to award a construction contract to a contractor. If you look up on the screen, I can just give you a quick highlight of the project. This is out at Maple Street, west of Marion Road. North on Marion Road, we have an old bridge that we had to make some emergency repairs to last fall. And a part of this project, the $2 million plus, is to construct a new bridge there, like we did a couple years ago on Maple. The other piece of it is to, and I should say that the Northwest School Park Addition is where the Sioux Falls School District in Lot 1 has constructed a new middle school that'll open in the fall of this year. Lot 3 is where we had the groundbreaking yesterday for the new fire station. So in preparation for that, the opening of these facilities, the work that'll happen on Maple Street is a combination of extending the water main to Eagles Nest Avenue, which is that collector on the west side. It is also doing some grading work. There's quite a hill as you get to that school entrance. We're cutting that hill down to increase the safety for the turning vehicles. We also are, between Eagles Nest and Valley View, we are adding a center turn lane. So at this point, we're not adding curb and gutter or sidewalks, but we are adding a center turn lane so the turning vehicles can get into a protected lane. And then the rest from Valley View back to Marion Road, we're doing some spot mill and overlay work. So that is the total project. Also in that project is we are, and I'll be talking about this as a later item, but we're constructing about 800 feet of Eagles Nest Avenue and about 400 feet of Valley View Road, and that is to serve the school and the fire station. So the action tonight is to approve a construction contract, not an amendment. If it was an amendment, I'd be asking the same question.
Okay.
So
Thanks a lot
You're welcome.
for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
Move to approve, Entenmann.
Second.
There's been a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Next item that Councilor Staggers wants to discuss is sump pump collection system to award a bid.
Yeah, for $82,500. If I recall correctly, we have an ordinance saying that every new housing development has to have sump pumps, whether they need them or not. I'm just curious, is this really needed in this area?
Your first statement was absolutely correct. With all new subdivisions, we install in the backyards, on the back lot line, a sump pump collection system that collects and conveys sump pump water so it doesn't become a nuisance. However, every year there's areas identified either through staff notifying or viewing that, or through a petition process that identifies older neighborhoods that have nuisance sump pump collection water that's pumped either into the street or into the yards, and it creates a nuisance. And so every year we prioritize a list, and then we go into these older neighborhoods and install a new sump pump collection system in the front yards. And we do that by directional drilling a pipe so it minimizes the amount of disturbance we make to the front yard. So we have probably 8 to 10 projects on a list that we're looking at to install these systems to reduce these pumpers that pump all winter long. There's ice buildup in the winter. It's hard on the curb and gutter. In the summer, it creates a lot of algae. There's always water sitting there. So I think it's a great project, and it's absolutely critical.
So this one, yeah, this is legitimate. This is a real.
Yep, we'll be.
Okay.
I'll back up here on the bottom right hand or the southeast corner of this map is Roosevelt High School, and then so these projects are just north and to the west of there. One is on Harvard Drive, a little bit on Lancaster, and the next one's on Theodore.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Move approval, Karski.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 8-0. The next item that Councilor Staggers wants to discuss is called Zoo Master Plan HVAC Replacement. Don, thank you. Councilor?
Don, can you just explain why we need that?
Yeah, there are 2 condensing units and 2 evaporator coils and new controls on the main building as you walk in to the zoo to pay your admission, and they need to be replaced, and so that's what this project would do.
How old are they?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know off the top of my head how old they are.
Okay. I guess my understanding is that for that building, a more important issue is in regard to the humidity and so forth, and trying to, is there going to be anything done in the future to try to deal with that issue of humidity so that we continue to be able to have, stuffed animals that aren't deteriorating?
Yeah, I know they're keenly aware of the control of the humidity and the temperature for the animals that are in there, but I might ask Tori Miedema, our park development specialist, to come up to see if he can give you a little more detail.
Tori, the question that Councilor Staggers asked is, he feels the bigger issue is humidity. Any idea when we'll be addressing that item?
Yeah, this project will take care of about 40% of the air conditioning and air handling units for the zoo. When we do that, the other 60% of the air conditioning units, that's when we'll address that. But yeah, we have planned to do that and actually separate that, the front entrance and the Delbridge collection,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can keep the temperatures and the humidity at different levels.
I remember that this has been talked about for a number of years, and when do you think this is going to be completed?
Well, these two units, the earlier question you asked, I believe they're over 30 years old.
Okay.
The other ones are quite a bit newer. They were when they did an addition onto the building. And so those air handling units work with the other piece of the building. So we didn't want to just go ahead and take care of all the units because they still have a lot of life left in them.
Okay. I guess that's...
Move for approval, Anderson.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson? Entman?
Yes.
Thank you. That's passed 8-0. The next item that Councilor Staggers would like us to discuss is called Family Park Improvements, Restroom and Main Utilities. Don?
Yeah, on this one here, the $535,000 plus includes restrooms. And I guess every time I see the city spending money on restrooms, we're spending really a lot of money. How much are we spending on restrooms here?
The restroom itself is came in at $290,000, and almost half of that total project is for extending the utilities out to that site. They're currently in TLS Road, right on the intersection there, but we need to extend them, and so a significant portion of this is just the utility extension to serve the park, to serve this restroom, but also the other park needs in the future.
I see. Where is this park at, really? I guess I don't know.
It is just north of the TLS Road. There's a large pond out there called Family, in the park it's called Family Park.
Oh, okay. I understand. Yeah, I know where it is now. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
There's been a motion to approve this item by Councilor Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Karski. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. The final item that Councilor Staggers would like us to discuss is called insurance liability. Councilor Staggers?
Yeah, I was wondering, we obviously must have had we lost a case, and now we're paying back money. Is that right? I don't know the details or anything.
Councilor, we've kept the council apprised of this pending litigation that's involving a few homes down in the Schindler, South Dakota area, and it's certainly played out in the media as well. This litigation is still pending. This is a settlement sum that was, the entire amount was paid by the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, and we are merely contributing after this has already been paid for our portion of that settlement, and that's all it is. And again, this litigation is still pending. We've answered the council's questions regarding this and kept you apprised throughout, and I'd rather not impact any more this litigation regarding any questions you may have.
The Schindler case has been going on for a long time, though, hasn't it? Many years?
I can't tell you how many years, probably a couple years at least.
At least, yeah.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
There's been a motion to approve this item by Councilor Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Thank you. Let's now move on to the rest of the business. Item number 50.
50 is a new 2014 package license for Walmart Stores Incorporated, Walmart, to be operated at 5200 West 60th Street North. Item 51 is a new 2014 retail wine license for Pure Bliss, LLC, a Perfect 10 Nail and Beauty Bar, 2312 West 69th Street, Suite 140, with conditional use permit 2014-0303 being approved on April 2nd, 2014. Item 52 is the new 2014-15 retail malt beverage license for Pure Bliss, LLC, a Perfect 10 Nail and Beauty Bar, 2312 West 69th Street, Suite 140, with conditional use permit 2014-0303 being approved on April 2nd, 2014. Item 53 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America Incorporated, Chef Dominique's Catering, to be operated at 2300 East 54th Street North, Suite 3, for a chamber mixer on May 13th, 2014. Item 54 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Almost Home Canine Rescue to be operated in the east parking lot of 300 North Sharapa Place for the 605 Summer Classic on June 20 and 21st, 2014. Item 55 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Almost Home Canine Rescue to be operated at the Multicultural Center, 515 North Main Avenue, to be used as an alternate location in the event of inclement weather for the 605 Summer Classic on June 20th and 21st, 2014. And item 56 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Sioux Falls Sister Cities to be operated at Falls Park West, Falls Park Drive, for the German Fest to be held on September 6, 2014.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. The only thing I have to add tonight, items 50 through 52, the security management plans were made available to you on the electronic agenda. Items 53 through 56 are all special one-day requests throughout the city. I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Jamie.
Move to approve, Entman. Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Edmund, thank you for that, and thank you as well, Councilor Rolfing. There's been a motion to approve it. It has been seconded. To roll call, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 57.
Item 57 is to set a data hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 13th, 2014 at 7 o'clock p.m. First reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota providing supplemental appropriations, Parks and Recreation, $11,180,776.
Don, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. This item before you is the first reading of the supplemental appropriation ordinance that would complete the funding for an indoor aquatic center at Spellerberg. And tonight, Tracy Turback and myself are here to present this item to you. As a reminder, during the City Council's capital surplus discussion back on April 10th, and then again in more detail during your informational meeting on April 15th, we provided our recommendations for moving forward with an indoor aquatic center at Spellerberg. This ordinance proposes using capital surplus funding to fund the construction of an indoor aquatic center without the issuance of bonds. So with that, Tracy's got all the detail as far as the financing, and asked Tracy to come up at this time.
Thank you, Don. Tracy, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. As Don mentioned, this ordinance will supplement the 2014 budget in the amount of just short of $11.2 million. The supplement then would put the city in the position to complete this indoor aquatics facility project without the use of any further debt. In so doing, the city would save, we've estimated, somewhere between $4 and $4.5 million, primarily in interest costs. And of course, by saving those interest dollars, we'll provide more dollars for the capital program in the future. And I think this represents really a great opportunity for the city to make prudent use of the available cash that we have on hand. As you folks know, the estimated cost to design, construct, and equip the indoor facility is $19.4 million. This $11.2 million then would be added to $6.4 million that's already in the 2014 budget that you adopted last fall. And the balance of the funding for the project then would come from other dollars that have been allocated and earmarked a program for this project as well in the 2015 and 2016 years. With that, I will stand by along with Don for any questions you folks might have.
Don, you might as well come forward just in case. Council, you know, folks, first I should explain, this is a first reading, so we don't have an opportunity to actually engage the public at this one. If it goes to a second reading, then certainly we will. But at this time, it's an opportunity for the council to ask the questions of the city team. Council, any questions, comments? Councilor Staggers.
Yes. I was wondering if you could clarify about the location. You know, we've had a number of votes, and I can't recall for sure whether we said specifically it's going to be at Spellerberg or whether we just voted on indoor pool. Can you clarify that?
Could you repeat that question?
Sure. We've talked a lot about this indoor pool being at Spellerberg, but has the city council, have we ever voted specifically on the location being at Spellerberg? I mean, we've voted on things, dealing with indoor pool, talking about indoor pool here and there and so forth, but have we ever actually voted on a location?
Well, the part of the plan on second reading is also to bring the capital improvement plan amendment to you at your next Tuesday night council meeting, which would amend the capital plan to specify the location.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Council, any other questions?
Move to set the date for the second reading for Tuesday, May 13th.
Second, Rolfing.
There has been a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 13th at 7 p.m. for item 57. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 58.
Item 58 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 13th, 2014 at 7 o'clock p.m. First reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota approving the assignment of lease sublease agreement for the Sertoma Butterfly House.
Dave Fisher, Assistant Director, Parks and Recreation. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The exhibit I've placed on the screen represents the property that makes up Sertoma Park. In July of 1995, the city entered into a joint powers agreement with the South Dakota Department of Game, Fish, and Parks to allow the development of an outdoor skills center, which today is known as the Outdoor Campus. The joint powers agreement included a provision to also lease the identified property as Property 1 on the screen to the state for a period of 50 years. A few years later, the Sertoma Club approached the city with the idea of constructing a butterfly house within Sertoma Park. And in May of 2002, the city and the South Dakota Department of Game, Fish, and Parks then entered into a 20-year lease and sublease agreement with the Sertoma Club to make the idea a reality. Essentially, what the Sertoma Club did is they subleased property within Property 1 from the state and leased additional property on the screen on a piece of property that's labeled as Property 2 from the city to be able to construct the butterfly house facilities. In December of that same year in 2002, the Sertoma Club then established the Sertoma Butterfly House Incorporated as a new separate 501c3 organization to oversee the butterfly house operation. Since then, with the addition of the Marine Cove exhibits, Sertoma Butterfly House Incorporated has become self-sufficient for the last few years and increasingly independent from the Sertoma Club, to the point where both organizations feel now like this lease and sublease should be in the name of Butterfly House Incorporated. Provisions within the original lease and sublease do require that the state and city approve any transfer or reassignment of the rights. This request of reassignment was brought forward to us by Sertoma Butterfly House Incorporated. It's been approved by the Sertoma Club. It's been recommended for approval by the Parks and Recreation Board, and it's received a verbal approval from the state. Here today also is Audrey Willard, the Executive Director from the Sertoma Butterfly House, and I believe she would like to address the council with some brief comments.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Audrey Willard. I'm the Executive Director of the Sertoma Butterfly House in Marine Cove, and I also have Matthew Dorothy with me tonight. He's a member of our board. Like Dave was explaining, we started off as the Sertoma Butterfly House Incorporated, but we were governed by the Sertoma Club. So through the years, the Sertoma Club would use their funding from the bingo hall to supplement our operational funds each year. Since we've added the Marine Cove, we've seen an incredible amount of growth. We have seen 68% increase in attendance, 258% increase in membership. So that's put us in a very strong financial position so that we don't have to look to the Sertoma Club anymore for those supplementary funds throughout the wintertime. And with that self-sufficiency, we're looking to continue to grow our independence. That means that we've started bringing in community members to serve on our board alongside Sertoma Club members. And so as we're moving, we'd like to have a stronger hand in our future. That means going ahead and moving forward with having the lease in the Sertoma Butterfly House name. That will give us the chance to be in a stronger position as we're seeking out donors and additional fund development as we add more marine exhibits, which we see the city really wants to see more marine exhibits. And then it'll also help us be in a better position as we're moving forward with new growth and new opportunities for the community. Did you have any questions for me?
Thank you very much. It's a good story.
This is a, if I may.
Councilor Rolfing, please.
This is this is the way it's supposed to work. People are supposed to make themselves good for something good for the community, and you end up being self-sufficient. We can't applaud you more, and I would move approval of this.
Second, Karski.
We are setting a date of hearing and second reading. As much as we'd want to improve it tonight,
Yeah.
we probably can't.
We'll approve the date.
But we're gonna. I won't say anything. We've set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 13th for this item, and it is a positive item. Thank you, Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 59.
Thank you.
Item 59 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 13th, 2014 at 7 o'clock p.m. First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota amending interest rates for special assessments.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of the council. Tracy Turback with the Finance Office. The ordinance that's on first reading tonight was developed at the request of the City Council's Land Use Committee in conjunction with some work that that committee is doing with regard to annexation of developed properties on the outskirts of our city limits. This ordinance would amend our existing city ordinance as it relates to interest rates on special assessments. Specifically, this amendment would do really two things. One, it will set the maximum length of term over which special assessments could be assessed and repaid, and that maximum under this amendment would be 20 years. In addition, this amendment would change the method for determining interest rates that are charged on those assessments, and essentially it would offer two possibilities. First of all, if the project that is being assessed back to the property owners that are benefiting from the project is involving some subsidized loans. For example, with the state revolving fund loan, we oftentimes use that for sanitary sewer improvements. In the case of a project that involved that type of financing, where the rate has been subsidized, that interest rate would be passed then through to the property owner, so they would receive the same interest rate on their assessments. The more common instance would be where the city uses city dollars to assess, to construct the improvements and then assess those costs back against the property, would be set under a tiered system that would include in the ordinance 3 tiers depending on the length of the term, anywhere from a 5-year, 10-year, or 20-year rate on the constant rate U.S. Treasury security, plus a margin of 2%. So if it was a 20-year maximum assessment, we would utilize the 20-year U.S. Treasury rate plus 2%. So that is the essentially what the amendment would do. The current ordinance, under the existing ordinance, the rate is tied to the 5-year Treasury rate plus 3.5%, but typically the maximum term is limited to 5 years as well. So that really limits the flexibility to do some of these projects where the costs are not ordinary, I would say, as some of those that the committee is looking at. So with that, I will be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tracy. Yes, Councilor Rolfing.
Thank you. The Land Use Committee worked hard on this along with you to set this up especially for the people of Prairie Meadows, the addition that we're looking at annexing. But we also knew it was far-reaching, and that this would set some precedent for additional annexations that we have coming in. Hopefully we'll have coming in and make it easier for those people to say, yes, let's get annexed and let's become part of the city and have things up to snuff. And so I would urge you to vote yes on this, as I think it's going to be great on a long-term basis for not only for the people in some of those areas that are not part of Sioux Falls right now that probably should be, but also for the city of Sioux Falls in the long run.
Councilor, would you be willing to set a date of hearing?
I would do that. The date of hearing would be Tuesday, May 13th at 7 p.m.
I'll second Karski.
There has been a motion by Councilor Rolfing to set that date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, May 13th. Has also been seconded by Councilor Karski. Any other discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski? Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 60.
Item 60 is a resolution declaring the necessity to construct sidewalk on South Solberg Avenue and assessing the cost to each lot or tract of land benefiting thereby.
Good evening, Chad Heavey with the Engineering Division of Public Works. In 2015, we are planning on completing a storm drainage project on Sertoma Avenue between 49th and 57th Street. During that project, we will be installing sidewalk on one of the city-owned parcels. The city owns the parcel between the interstate and Sertoma Avenue, or Solberg Avenue, excuse me, just south of 49th Street. Also during the project, we would also like to complete the installation on the west side of Solberg. There's a couple parcels that have sidewalk, and there's a couple that don't. And so this resolution of necessity is associated with completing the sidewalk on that west side of Solberg. It affects two properties. If this resolution is passed, we will notify the property owners and give them to the summer of 2015 to install the sidewalk. If they choose not to, then we will install it as part of our project in 2015 and assess the cost to those properties. The affected properties were notified of tonight's hearing, and we have met with them individually regarding the project and the sidewalk. And this resolution is in accordance with state law and city ordinance.
Chad, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Very good. Council?
I'd move to set the, or I'd move approval.
Second.
So on a motion to approve this item, it's a resolution, has been seconded. Councilor Staggers.
Yeah, Chad, how much are we going to be projected to charge these two property owners for the city sidewalk that they're going to be paying for?
The estimated amount for the Good Sam portion is about $26,000. That's the property on the south. And then the parcel, which is going to be just south of the property we own, is about $6,000.
So $32,000 total then?
Approximately.
That's going to be, okay, paid for by private owners for the city sidewalk.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
That has passed 7-1. Item 61.
Item 61 is a resolution declaring the necessity to grade, gravel, construct curb and gutter with driveway approaches, storm sewer, asphalt surfacing, street light, sanitary sewer, and water main on North Valley View Road and on North Eagles Nest Avenue, and assessing the cost to each lot or tract of land benefiting thereby.
We kind of talked about this earlier, but I'll go through it maybe briefer this time. This resolution of necessity is associated with constructing portions of the two collector streets south of Maple Street and west of Marion Road. Just as a reminder, collector streets are constructed and paid for by the adjoining property owners, or the streets are constructed by the city, and those costs are assessed to those properties. The streets we talked about will be constructed as part of this year's Maple Street project, like I mentioned earlier. The street on the westmost collector street is called Eagles Nest Avenue, and we'll construct approximately 800 feet of that road and that road will serve the George McGovern Middle School, which will open this fall. We do have an agreement with the Sioux Falls School District that they will pay for their half of that road once the road is constructed. Tonight's resolution of necessity deals with or addresses the Baker Farms group. They own the property west of that collector street. And so we are working with them on the construction of this road and then assessing the costs to those at a later date. In addition, we'll also be collecting or constructing about 400 feet of Valley View Road, which is the road just east of the proposed or the new Fire Station 11. The city will fund the city's half of that road through that fire station property. And then again, this resolution is pertaining to the Sesher family. They own the property that is west or east of the future Valley View Road. We are currently working with both Baker Farms and the Sesher family on finalizing right-of-way and easement acquisition. The plan is that we'll construct these streets in 2014. We'll assemble all the costs and do the auditing in 2015, and then right after that, we'll bring an assessment roll to you to approve to assess the costs to those two properties. And I'm here to answer questions tonight, and I know there's a representative from the Sesher family also that would probably like to address the council.
If they could come forward, that'd be great. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Brendan Riley from Davenport Evans. Like Chad said, the Sexers have hired me to just help with the orderly development of their property. At this point, there's no disputes. There's no nothing that we're here to dispute or to turn down. But they just wanted me to come introduce myself, let you know that they're willing to work with the city. This kind of took them by surprise a bit to get a notice that they were going to be assessed. They needed to get talked off the ledge a little bit about what that actually meant. You know, these folks, this is their family farm, just happens to be almost part of town now. And they don't see a whole lot of benefit so far for a road being constructed or them having to dedicate right of way and having to pay for it. But they do understand the orderly development process. So really tonight was just, they asked me to come introduce myself, know that we'll be working. I have had discussions with Chad, and so far all of our questions have been answered, but I think there's going to be a lot going on in these this old family farm is going to transform, and this is the start of the process for them. So they are concerned. They have several concerns about how these assessments work, what's going to happen to their property, does this really benefit their property right now. I think we'll be able to work through those, but it's likely I'll be back seeing you at some point as we progress. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Brandon. Councilor Stagers?
Yeah, if I could ask a question of
Brandon, would you mind coming back, please? Thank you.
When the Sesher family was given notice that they're going to be assessed, were there any figures that were given to them, approximately how much they're going to be paying to build these city projects?
Yes, the notice did include estimated costs. It's broken down into several variables, about 10 different categories on a per foot basis. So they did get an idea. You know, I think, and Chad has confirmed with me, those are probably conservative estimates, and hopefully they'd come in lower. But that was sort of the shock value. Part of it was timing as well. I will say, not to throw anybody under the bus, but I think the shock part of it was they received this notice probably last Thursday for a meeting that's going to happen tonight. I don't know what the timing was. The letter was addressed April 24th. They told me, I didn't see the envelope, but it was postmarked the 28th. And you know, they received, because they're not in Sioux Falls, so they didn't receive it till middle to end of last week with a hearing for tonight. So luckily, this is, they're not, there's not anything going on that would be really to their detriment tonight, but, and maybe that's why there was a short notice, but that was one of the big concerns that got the ball rolling to get me hired and come here tonight.
Once again, can you give us some numbers?
Yeah, they're in the notice of hearing, the numbers that they received. I can just read them down. It says the estimated cost of the above named improvements is as follows. Grading, $25 per front foot. Gravel, $10 per front foot. Curb and gutter, $20 per front foot. Streetlights, $5. Storm sewer, $30 per front foot. Asphalt surfacing, $25. Driveways, $35. Sanitary sewer main, $30. Water main, $30. Engineering fee, $40. I'm sure Mr. Hoovey can explain these a little better than I can, but it does give a breakdown of what you would expect to pay for your assessment.
For a grand total of?
$250 per front foot. For
just
what will be eventually
$250 per
400 foot to start, but eventually I believe the plan would be 1,320 feet when it's totally complete. So I mean, it's 600, depending on how the numbers come out, 600 to 750,000 was the estimate for the total cost for the street. Cut that in half for my clients, since they're paying half of the assessment since it's for half of the street.
So over 300,000.
Presumably.
To pay for the city streets and all this other stuff that goes with it.
Yeah. Anything
Yes,
else?
Councilor Jameson.
A question for Chad, if I could.
You done with me?
Maybe.
Or should I stick around?
Maybe.
Okay, I'll stick around.
Chad, is that the only residence in the area? Is the Sesser family? And could you point at it on the map?
Well, the Sesser property is basically south and to the east of the fire station. So where it says Sioux Falls Fire Station 11, where that block is, they own all of that land, Marion Road, and then they own the land north of there as well.
Very good. And the road that we're building here, is the city building it, or are you going to be contracting it out for somebody else to build?
We're going to be contracting it out, and Mayor, if I may, I need to unwind kind of what's. We have worked with the Sesser family for probably 5 to 8 years in this whole area. We had to work with them when we designed portions of Maple Street east of Marion Road, also west of Marion Road. Last year we installed utilities to get out to the school and the fire station. We worked with them then. When we rebuilt the bridge on Maple Street, had emergency repair, we worked with them then. I just want to clarify a couple things tonight. We are not coming to you saying that we are going to build 400 feet of a road and assess the Sesser's half of that. We are still working with both the Baker family, which is on the west side of the school, and that family is another family. I'd say the mother lives in Nevada, and a son lives in Minneapolis, and a daughter lives in Kansas City. And yes, the Sesser family is a family of 5 or 6, and they're spread out all across the country. We are doing this resolution of necessity tonight because the Baker family, for instance, they see the value of constructing a complete street at this time with all the utilities as an advantage to them. They are outside of the city limits at this point. So when the road is completed, there will be a delayed assessment on them without any interest until they're annexed into the city. And they do understand that when they're annexed in, if it's them or another property owner, they're going to have to dedicate 40 feet of right-of-way per city ordinance and construct that street for their development. That's why the school district has agreed to pay for their half right away. But at this point, like I said, we are still finalizing things with the Baker Farms family on what we're actually going to construct. And it's the same thing with the Sesser family. We are working with them. We still don't know we know what we're going to build on the fire station side, but the Sesher family's hired Sayer Associates, a local engineering firm, to help them with the development of this entire piece of property. So, yes, they were notified of this formal hearing, but at this point, we will only construct what they are in support of.
Sesher family?
Yes. I mean, at this point, we're trying to work through the right-of-way acquisition piece of this and the easement acquisition of this. And so for us to do anything on their property, those have to be successful. And so that's what we're working through right now. So we've communicated with them for years about these different projects out here. And we will only construct what they want us to construct with this year's project.
Councilor Karski.
Chad, would you say, well, first of all, Maple Street, we're going to be building that. That's a collector street. I mean,
that's an arterial.
Arterial street, thank you. And we're paying for that out of the funds that we collect for the development.
Arterial street, yes.
Yeah, okay. Valley View and Eagles Nest Avenue, the construction of those streets plus Maple Street, would you say that greatly or has at least some significant impact on the value of those lands that have not yet been annexed by making them more accessible?
Well, to develop anything, well, let me just back up. With a school comes rooftops. And I would think that with the school being out here, you're going to see this property will be more attractive to developers with the school being there. And you got a lot of development along Marion Road. And so what I've tried to convey to the Bakers is that, to develop your property, you need sewer, you need water, and you need a road. And now you're going to have 800 feet of a road ready to go. And, one of the children's an attorney and one is in real estate. So they understand it a little bit better than maybe others who aren't in the industry do. And that's what we've tried to work with the Sesher family on things like that as well.
Okay, thank you. The only other question I have when we're putting in the curb and gutter and et cetera along the fire station there, are we going to put a sidewalk in?
Yes.
Thank you.
Who's going to use it?
Councilor Karski, would you want to make a motion? This is your area.
Yes, I would make a motion for approval. Thank you.
Second, Antonin.
You bet. Councilor Karski's made a motion to approve this resolution. Second by Councilor Antonin. Councilor Staggers.
Yeah, I think this is an inappropriate time to be voting for this. We don't have things really finalized. It's okay to charge the school district because they've already said they agree with this, but the Baker family and the Sesher family, everything is still up in the air, and we're talking about big bucks. And I think we ought to have this more in place as to how much this is going to cost and that they really, truly agree with this before we vote on this.
Very good. Mr. Riley, is it allowed? We have
please
come forward, Brandon.
This probably doesn't matter at all, but just to clarify a bit, Mr. Heavey's right. The city has been working with the Sexers for a long time. I'm just new to the process here. This was new, but they understand what's going on. So this wasn't a big slap in the face to them to get this letter. It was just more a timing issue. And so he's absolutely correct. It's not like this is the first time that they've heard anything about this. It's just the first time that I did from them.
Thank you, Brandon.
Can I ask him a question, Mayor? Brandon? The Sesher family right now, if they were here, would they be in favor of this or against it?
They don't know, but they know that this is a necessary step in the start of the process, and I believe they and I will have other opportunities to object if there's a necessary reason to object. Right now, I don't think there is any reason to object. This proposed portion of it, they may get assessed, but it doesn't affect their property, doesn't take their property. They haven't dedicated any of their property for the right-of-way just yet, or an easement for the utilities. They may want to, and in fact, they may come around to the fact that exactly what the Bakers are saying is this may be a huge benefit for them. They just don't understand what that benefit may be right now without going through the process. So we don't object to this the start of the process being, the city providing this notice of necessity or whatever it's called. There may be other reasons down the road where we do object, but this isn't the one.
Has been a motion. It's been seconded. Great discussion. And thanks for your testimony tonight, Brendan. Appreciate it. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes. That is passed 7-1. Item 62.
Item 62 is a resolution including certain contiguous territory within the corporate limits of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Annexation 2014-0313 Brants.
Good evening. I'm Diane DeCoyer with the Planning Office. The annexation request before you is for 0.28 acres. It's located south of West 69th Street and east of South Tallgrass Avenue, which is directly southwest of the Avera Heart Hospital. The applicant is Bentwood Place Incorporated. The proposed annexation area is within the growth area Tier 1 and is consistent with a 2035 future land use plan. I can take any questions you might have.
Thanks, Diane. Is there anybody in the audience who want to speak to this item? I don't think so.
Move approval, Karski.
Councilor Karski's been motion approved, second by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes. Thank you so much. That is passed 8-0. Thank you, Diane. Item 63.
Item 63 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and Sanford Health and United National Corporation entitled First Amended and Restated Title Sponsorship Agreement.
Darren?
Good evening, Darren Smith, Director of Community Development. Item 63 in front of you is in fact a resolution to amend and restate the title sponsor naming rights agreement that I'm sure you'll recall this City Council approved almost 2 years ago now, which is hard to believe, but it will be 2 years later this summer. What you have in front of you tonight, it is a 40-page document, lots of pages, lots of words, several changes, and I'm going to summarize them very briefly, and then I'm going to introduce Jim Wiederick, who is here tonight with Woods Fuller, and he's been representing the city on this for some time. So I'll let him come up and speak more to this. But in general, I'd summarize this into three buckets, basically. In the original agreement, there were 3 exhibits dealing with signage, location, and logos that we committed to bringing back. So you have those 3 exhibits in the amended and restated agreement. They are exhibits B, C, and D towards the back. Secondly, there are several what I would characterize as legal modifications and additions that are pretty technical in nature, so that's where Jim's going to come in, dealing with trademarks, royalties, things of that nature. And then finally, what you'll see throughout this, several of the changes really relate to providing SMG, our facilities manager, with maximum flexibility to brand, market, and promote the new event center, the Denny Sanford Premier Center, and the Convention Center and Arena. So before I turn it over to Jim, I'll just take a moment and recognize some gentlemen here who can be called upon tonight if necessary. Dave Knutson, who's representing the title sponsors, Sanford Health, First Premier Bank, and First Premier Bank Card. Terry Torkelson, who of course is general manager for the Denny Sanford Premier Center, the Convention Center, the Arena, and the Orpheum. And then, a little unexpected here, but I'm going to introduce H.R. Cook. Mr. Cook is the general manager himself for a convention center and event center in Topeka, Kansas. He works for SMG, and he is here assisting Terry and our local SMG team in preparing to open our new event center. So that's very exciting and another sign it's becoming real. And then lastly, the young lady in the blue dress up front, Karen Leonard, has been our internal attorney supporting us on this agreement and all things related to the event center along with Mr. Fifley's assistance as well. So with that, Jim, would you please come up?
Welcome, Jim.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Jim Wiederick with the law firm of Woods, Fuller, Schultz & Smith. You will recall that I was part of the team that helped negotiate the original title sponsorship agreement back in September of 2012, at which time the council approved the original agreement. As Darren has indicated, we knew that there would be a point in time when we would be back in front of you for a couple of reasons, and let me just itemize those briefly for you. First of all, since the time that you approved the original agreement, what has happened is that SMG, through Terry Torkelson's efforts and his team, has had a significant amount of time that they've been able to spend with the marketing teams for the title sponsors. And one of the things that we all recognize is that the rest of us are not marketing folks, and they have been working together to provide a game plan, a process by which they would get approvals for various signage and ticketing and all kinds of marketing and advertising efforts. As that has developed, they recognized that what they wanted to do was build in more flexibility for the city in terms of the wording of the title sponsorship agreement, and that is one of the goals that I think we've been able to achieve by preparing the first amended and restated agreement. Secondly, we knew that following the approval of the original agreement, the title sponsors would want to apply to the United States Patent and Trademark Office in order to obtain trademark protection for the title sponsorship name that would go on the building and be used in the marketing and advertising efforts. They have successfully done that, and they have obtained patent or trademark protection then for the first premier, or the Denny Sanford Premier Center. As a consequence of that, we knew that we needed to update the title sponsorship agreement for a couple of reasons. First of all, in order to license the trademark and still make it be enforceable, we needed to provide for various approval processes within the terms of the agreement. If the owner of the trademark does not control the usage of that trademark in some fashion, then both parties can lose the ability to enforce it. In addition to that, one of the benefits that we've been able to build into the agreement through our negotiations and our discussions with the title sponsors is that we've been able to clarify that the city has the right to sublicense the name on the facilities to other space sponsors within the facilities, so that they are able to promote the fact that while they are they might be a sponsor of a certain portion of the Denny Sanford Premier Center, they are able then to use that name in their promotion, and then any royalties that are coming back under those other sponsorship agreements are staying with the city, and there's no fee back or no royalty owed back to the title sponsors. So it's all been very positive. The discussions that we've had and the wording that we've come up with for these revisions have been cooperatively achieved through these efforts. I am here tonight to answer questions. I know you received a black line draft and a clean draft of the revised agreement. It shows all of the revisions that were discussed. And I would invite Dave Knudsen to address you from the perspective of the title sponsors, and then we can open it up for questions.
Dave, please come forward. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the City Council. Again, I'm here on behalf of First Premier Bank and Premier Bank Card and Sanford Health. First of all, I just want to say, I mean, we're just tremendously excited about the development of the event center. It's gone very well, obviously on budget, on time, many enhancements. The revenue that's going to come from the seating and the suites and sponsorships for the operating income is amazed me. I've always had great optimism about Sioux Falls, but the response we've received from this community is just amazing, and we're very excited about the entertainment opportunities. So we're very pleased how everything's been developed in the last, again, hard to believe, almost 2 years. As Darren and Jim have said, this was really driven by the maturation of the marketing plans between the SMG, the city, and the two title sponsors. We're fully supportive of this agreement. Again, we try to be good citizens, as Jim mentioned. Any revenues the city might get by sub-licensing the name, as long as we believe they should stay with the city and continue to support the Denny Sanford Premier Center. And then I sort of smiled. Jim and I neither one of us are trademark experts, and as we got into the actual trademarking of the logo and the name, it became very clear that we needed to change Section 14 in order to put sort of traditional licensing standards in. Otherwise, if you license a trademark without standards, you really put that trademark at serious risk. So the Section 14 stuff is the more specialized lawyers than Jim and I getting their mitts on the agreement, and I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Darren. Folks, is there anyone else in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Very good. Councilor Staggers?
Yes. How long does a trademark last?
That is a good question. I should invite, I don't have the trademark attorney in our office here to confirm that. I'm not sure.
I see.
David, would you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, certainly not an expert, but just looking out in the experience of the trademarks for companies, I think as long as you continue to use the product, I don't think it's an indefinite thing. I don't think it's like a copyright or those patents that have an expiration. A trademark, I think, as long as it's continuously used, is maintained, because I'm sure that Ford Motor Company and some of those are probably more than 100 years old.
If I could,
Councilor?
can you also clarify, Dave, how long is the agreement that we have with Sanford and First Premier for the
25 years.
25 years, and I think there's an option to extend it indefinitely upon payment of another 15 million, something like that.
Okay.
You'll note that there is an Exhibit A to the agreement that is before you, which has not been completed, and that is to identify the opening date once the city has determined that the facility is open and ready for business, and then it's 25 years from that date. Okay. So whenever we get the word from the city and SMG that they are ready to go, we will complete that exhibit, and then it'll be 25 years. And then Dave is correct. There is an option where they can extend it for the life of the facility, and they can exercise that option anytime up to 18 months prior to the expiration of the first 25-year period.
Councilor, would anybody like to make a motion?
I move to approve.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Entman has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski? Yes. Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 64.
Item 64 is a report of the April 29th, 2014 Notice of Transfer of Appropriations within Major Organizational Units.
Item 65.
Item 65, approve the mayor's appointment of Trent Lubers, Utilities Operations Administrator, for nominee for Director and Delegate, and Greg Anderson, Water Superintendent, to serve as alternate to represent the City of Sioux Falls at official meetings for the Lewis and Clark Rural Water System.
Mark.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We Nice opportunity. We start the meeting tonight with Lewis and Clark, and we'll finish it with Lewis and Clark. Our delegate today is Chad Heavey is the lead delegate, and Trent Lubers is the alternate. Chad has served that role for 5 years and served it very well, and we'd like to recognize Chad for his service tonight in that role. Based on the organization of Public Works, Greg Anderson runs the water plant and Trent Lubers is over all the utilities. And so now, based on that organization and their functions every day, we'd like to have Trent be now the lead and Greg be the alternate. And so with your support, that's what we'll send forth.
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Anderson.
Thank you, Councilor Aguilar, and thank you, Councilor Anderson Jr. It has been moved and seconded that these two folks represent the city with the Lewis and Clark Rural Water System. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. It's been a great meeting. We do have some USF students in the audience, I can tell. Welcome. Nice to have you here. And Hope School has been good, and you're almost done. We want to recognize you. Thanks for joining us tonight. And the rest of you are special too, so thank you for being here tonight.
Move to adjourn, Entman.
Thank you.
Anderson.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion, or Councilor Anderson has made a motion to adjourn this meeting, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Sioux Falls. Make it a great, great night.